name is Bobby Brochin. I am a partner at Morgan Lewis here in Miami as the office managing partner, and I also head up the litigation practice group. You're basically responsible for the office's operations and to manage and at least be responsible for the management of their work here and the carrying on of our providing legal services to all of our clients. We do essentially three areas here in Miami. One is we do labor and employment law, which is practiced throughout the firm in a very significant way, representing the management side of the issues. We also do litigation on a lot of fronts, commercial litigation, white-collar litigation, securities litigation, which is generally a commercial litigation practice. And we also, with Ethan Johnson, do work in the hedge funds and the investment management field. Finally, an area I'd like to see us expand on a bit because of Miami's significant development as an international city. We are very anxious to enhance that capacity and use Miami as a portal to Latin America to provide services, legal services, to our American clients here who conduct business there. And we're always keeping an eye south, if you will, to providing those legal services, and it's certainly something on my agenda to expand here in Miami so we can have even more capability to provide those services looking south. And I say that particularly because of where I see Miami going in the world economy as a really world-class international city who is going to have a lot of international legal demands for services, and we need to be and should be in a position to provide them. Right now, defend a lot of financial institutions, particularly in class action defense brought by consumers or enforcement agencies seeking relief, if you will, from some of the issues that emerged from the housing crisis. And I spend a good deal of time in defending those claims brought, that it doesn't maybe require to meet with the clients as much. But the other thing that it's changed on is that it's allowed us to represent clients not necessarily just in the geographic region in which we are. So we now will represent a client not just when they have an issue in Florida. We may represent them, and I represent them across the country. And the technology has enabled us to do that because the flow of information goes much easier. Things are filed electronically. There's not as much demand that you actually be at a specific place anymore. And therefore, we can now represent clients not just in the venue where we reside, their business, we can represent them across the country. So that's good for the client because there's an efficiency there because they have counsel now who is well acquainted not just with the issues facing them in the jurisdiction, but they're well familiar with the problems that face the client. So wherever they're having issues, legal issues or demands placed upon them, we're able to quickly deploy lawyers there to represent them, and they already know what that client does and what their business is. Well, the one I am, I guess, most proud of is that in 1985, if I can just share a little bit of the background with you, this is a picture of a flat piece of land up in the mountains of Peru. Mm-hmm. And this is probably 17,000 feet. It's very high. Probably about 17,000 feet. And you can see it's very isolated. In 1985, there was a village here of maybe 100, 150 people. And an organization known as the Shining Path, led by Commander Thomas Hurtado, led a brigade in there and committed acts of atrocity that are almost unspeakable in terms of murdering, raping, placing the villagers in a church, locking the church, burning it to the ground, and wiping out the entire village with one day's work. And these are just people that were just trying to make a living and do better for themselves and farm land, and that was pretty uninhabitable to begin with. And here they come to the far reaches of this corner of the earth to commit these atrocious acts. Well, it turned out that the person who led this, Thomas Hurtado, was residing here in Miami Beach. And he got picked up and detained by ICE on some immigration issue. And when we learned of that, we put together a lawsuit on behalf of two women in Peru who at the time were 12 years old and had witnessed this. This was their village. Because of the hundreds of people that in the village being destroyed, there were, I think, 5 survivors. And this was 2 of them who were 12 years old at the time. And so now I think they were 37, thereabouts, and they had survived and witnessed this. So on their behalf, we brought a lawsuit against Mr. Hurtado because we were able to serve him and get jurisdiction because he was sitting in detention, and we actually got to subpoena him for trial. And we brought this case under the Alien Tort Claim Act as crimes against humanity. And we tried the case in front of Judge Jordan, who was at the time the district court here judge. He's now on the 11th Circuit. And he conducted the trial. And these 2 women came to Miami. And we had subpoenaed Mr. Hurtado to be in court. And they were able to tell the story in vivid detail of what this man and his people did to their village and to their family and their mothers and fathers and sisters and brothers and people they lived with. And it was an extraordinary day in that they had the opportunity to confront their perpetrator and the one who had the leadership in hand in doing this some 25 years later. And it was justice being received in its highest level. I mean, we did get a judgment from the court for $37 million, but that's not the justice that we obtained. The justice we obtained was for these 2 women who were girls to be able to just tell that story to a federal judge who listened and acted on it with Mr. Hurtado present was very satisfying, and I remember it like it was yesterday, and it was several years ago.